Hi everyone. We are getting closer and closer to the end of the semester. Hard to believe. And we're looking right now at, oh gosh, I think this is chapter 27, The Art of the Americas After 1300. And before we discuss Native American art, I think it's so important for us to consider the stereotypes that persist when discussing Native American art and culture. And sadly, mainstream culture remains largely unaware of the complicated and fascinating histories of Native peoples and their art. Just taking a look at some of the images of Native Americans that we have in popular culture. There are still many sports franchises, including at the collegiate level, who use harmful caricatures of Native Americans as their mascots. We also see these really distorted images in movies that perpetuate stereotypes and homogenize the incredible diversity of Native groups across the Americas. There are so many different languages, cultural traditions, cosmologies, ritual practices that we can't really make broad statements about the cultures and arts of the indigenous peoples of the America. And we also need to be really careful about using the term primitive or even the term tribe. These terms are deeply problematic and they reveal the distorted lens of colonialism through which these groups have been seen and then misunderstood. When Europeans came into contact with indigenous people of the Americas, they often called them savages, primitive, barbaric, and this legacy has affected how we understand Native art. And oftentimes, Native objects are displayed not in art museums, but in anthropological museums. This has changed recently. Most Native objects were originally understood as curiosity or specimens of a dying culture, which in part explains why many objects were stolen or acquired without the approval of Native peoples. Many sacred objects, for example, were removed and put on display for non-Native audiences. Much of this has changed, but this legacy lives on, and it's really important for us to acknowledge it. Another word we should be very suspicious of and not use is the word Indian. It's considered offensive to many people. It was coined inaccurately by Christopher Columbus, who bumped into the Caribbean islands in 1492 and believed that he had mistakenly found India. So let's be aware of the terminology that we use. We're going to start with the Aztecs. And here we're looking at just a few maps of the cultures that we're going to see. This is going to be multiple videos. As always, we're going to start with the Aztec Empire. Here in kind of central Mexico, Tenochtitlan is the present-day capital of Mexico, Mexico City. We're also going to look at the Inca Empire in South America. And then we're going to move to North America here, focusing on the Northwest. That is the focal point of our reading for this week, but then also the Southwest as well, just a place that's a little bit closer to home. All right, we're looking at a book, the Codex Mendoza, and this particular page that shows us the founding of Tenochtitlan. This is a kind of hybrid book where we see both Spanish and indigenous elements. The King of Spain ruled the viceroyalty of New Spain from 1521 to 1821, 300 years. And that geographic region covered Mexico and Central America. He commissioned this book that we see here as a history of the Aztec rulers and a history of the kind of Aztec cultures. Native artists painted the pages, and then Don Antonio de Mendoza so hence the name Codex Mendoza. He was the first viceroy of New Spain, and he actually added, as the ruler of New Spain, he actually added the text to the Codex here. So even though book production was common under the Aztec civilization, those manuscripts were destroyed by Europeans. And what we're seeing here is a kind of hybrid Aztec Spanish product. And what we see here is the legend of the founding of the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan that was founded in 1345. Now the legend says that Huitzilopochtli, who is the Aztec god of war, promised to lead the Aztecs to a new homeland. They were driven from their settlements. And he said, I'm going to give you a sign. And that sign is going to be an island in a lake where an eagle is holding a serpent on top of a nopal, on top of a cactus. And what do we see here in the center of this page? But we see that exact symbol. An island, or surrounded by water, with an eagle holding a snake in its talons on top of a cactus. Now, if you're thinking, I've seen this somewhere before, that would be because this is still the national emblem of Mexico. It is seen right in the middle of the Mexican flag. And what we see are the four quadrants around that central symbol that represent the different wards of the city. And below, we see two conquest scenes depicting the burning of temples. And this is a particular event that also is connected to the founding of Tenochtitlan. Here's a close-up of that central image. Here it is with the Mexican flag. Let's look at Templo Mayor. This is the main temple. This is the holiest place in the Aztec Empire. And it was located in the center of the city where the most important ritual and ceremonial activities in Aztec life took place. Here we're seeing what Tenochtitlan looked like before Lake Texcoco was drained. Here is a model of the site, and here's what the site looks like today. The Spanish completely destroyed the ritual center of Tenochtitlan, including Templo Mayor. And we see this big dome in the back. This is actually the Metropolitan Cathedral of Mexico City. So here we see colonizers coming in with their religion, destroying the old religious center and putting their new religious capital here right on top of that old site. The Templo Mayor is actually what we're looking at right here. And it's twin pyramids that symbolize two sacred mountains. The one on the left represented Tonacatepetl. The Aztec language is called Nahua, and I'm doing my best to pronounce it. This is the hill of sustenance, whose patron deity was Tlaloc, the god of rain. On the right, we see the hill of Coatepec, right here. This is the birthplace of the Aztec war god Huitzilopochtli. And as when we think about other cultures, we have these kind of raised platforms, and the actual temple part itself are these smaller buildings at the top of these really steep stairs. These places were not accessed by everyone. These were small places only for the elites to conduct rituals. There were 7 major building phases for Templo Mayor, each one adding, each ruler trying to one-up his predecessor, making something that is more grandiose. And subsequently, we have this impressive structure that was seen by the Spaniards in 1519. Let's see where I'm at for time. Here, let's just look at at some of the details here before I end this video. So we see the temple to Tlaloc and Huitzilopochtli, including sacrificial stones and the Chacmol figures. We also have serpents' heads at the bottom of the stairs as guardian figures. They were placed at the base. They would be brightly colored adornments to this architectural structure. All right, I'm going to stop this video and we're going to come back to the calendar stone, which is one of the most fascinating artworks that we will see this semester.